welcome once again to the Shooting Left of Center podcast. I am the Yankee Marshal. We've been gone for a little while, but I am finally back from vacation, so we are going to be getting back into the swing of things here tonight. I'd like to take a second here to let the people on the panel here introduce themselves, and then we'll get started with our topics tonight.
Well, definitely age before beauty. Go ahead.
Well, then, thanks for the invite, and I just noticed that it looks like you might have the comments weird on the video, or am I going to the wrong video? Anyway, thanks for the invite.
I think you might be going to the wrong video.
Hey, what's up, guys? It's Shannara. Thanks for having me on the show. Appreciate it.
Yes. Yep, it's going to be a grand old day today, isn't it?
Did you introduce yourself, or did you just grunt into the microphone? And that
I just grunt. Yeah, usually don't be. Yeah.
Because I missed the first few seconds while I was changing my headphones because I am technologically handicapped here. I say handicap instead of the R word, but you know what I mean. But try to get it going as much as possible here. Just wanted to take a moment tonight to say thanks to everyone that went over to the original video I posted today and put a lot of questions. We got a lot of questions there. Put a link for the people that are in the actual chat here over in the side here if you want to go over and see if there's any questions you really want to cover. But we got a lot of questions from people that I want to go over tonight. So first, I'm going to have to get to my page where I can actually see the questions because I lost it accidentally while I was booting up my music over here. Did I ever turn the music off?
Let me ask the first one then. Where'd you go on vacation?
I went to Seaside, Oregon. We rent a house on the coast for a week every year, a week to 10 days, and go spend a week to 10 days on the coast. And it's really enjoyable, really relaxing. You know, we're right next to a little touristy town. We're actually right on the boardwalk, so you could actually just walk a half mile down the boardwalk and be right in the center of Seaside, Oregon. One of my favorite vacations I've ever taken.
And that's where they filmed Goonies at?
They filmed the Goonies and stuff in that area, you know, and like in the Astoria area. So they filmed a lot of things up there. They filmed Short Circuit up there, Kindergarten Cop, you know, a lot of different things.
All the top tier cinema is what you're saying they filmed up there.
Yeah, you know, if it's an Oscar nominee, then it was probably filmed there. But now I am getting to where I can actually see the questions. So, like I say, I want you all to look for one that you like. But one here I want to talk about real quick, and this is just for a real second here, and that's from Malicious Giraffe Mayhem. It says, how do I feel about these tyrannical gun bans? Well, I refuse to answer questions from giraffes because I don't trust giraffes. But if anybody else wants to answer that question, we'll answer it later. Now, and Abomi wants to know if I ever answered my PM, so I assume he sent me a PM I haven't answered, so I got to go check that out.
It's probably a package you have sitting in a post office somewhere.
Yeah. So some people are getting upset about the video I posted today about guns and car comparisons. When I started doing that it's a little 2-video series, I didn't know people were going to be so touchy about their cars. I guess people are just as touchy about their cars as they are their guns. I actually love both, so try not to be touchy about any of them. I know some people love them, some people hate them, but boy, some of the car lovers are throwing fits today.
I watched it. I loved it. I thought it was a good idea. I was right along with you. I thought the Hummer, that was a perfect analogy for the, what was it? The
Taurus Judge was fine.
Yes, perfect. Yes, perfect analogy.
Today a lot of people are getting mad because I said that the Glock, a lot of people like to think the Glock is the Honda Civic of the gun world, but Honda Civics actually have too much style. So I have to say that the Glock is the Volkswagen Bug of the gun world.
No, will I get booted for not having watched Part 2 yet?
I haven't either, but Part 1 was great.
Now, Part 2 went up today, so I can't believe you people aren't following my videos closely enough to watch them as soon as they come out.
Oh, I saw it. I just scrolled past it. But,
Chose not. Well, choosing not to watch it after you see it is worse than not seeing it. Just so you know.
I always got to liquor myself up pretty hard before I watch any Yankee Marshal video, personally, but that's just me. I'm kidding.
No, you're not. It's okay.
Someone wants to know what is the airspeed velocity of an unladen swallow, and to that you just have to say African or European.
Correct. Right answer.
Someone saying here, this is actually a pretty decent question. What is your opinion on silencer use on a home defense weapon? Does it open up to you to liability in a jury situation?
I don't see how.
Yeah, I don't see how it would either. You're just trying to save your hearing.
And the flash blindness too. A lot of suppressors cut down on that.
I think it's a fantastic idea. If you can get a suppressor for your home defense gun, hell
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, it's great. Some people say things like, "Oh, put on hearing protection if you ever have to use your gun." No, because then you've given up one of your greatest senses in the dark, which is your hearing, and that's how you pinpoint where things are. So I would never want to put on hearing protection if I was going off into a possibly darkened area to defend myself. So yeah, silencer on it would be really really good. Oh, G-Web, someone wants to know what the recommendations for a great AK up to $1,200 would be. They're asking you specifically. They said never enough ammo is banned from this question. So,
Come on, DDI, Arsenal.
I don't pay attention to new guns and prices and stuff. I haven't bought one in a long time, so sorry, I don't know.
Well, whoever asked that question can go fuck themselves, because DDI makes really good stuff. If you want to spend $1,200 on an AK,
I've heard good stuff about DDI.
yeah, they're making some good stuff now.
okay.
And then Arsenal's always good. So.
Okay, here's one of those questions that everyone loves to answer. It says, if the government came to take all your guns, and we actually let them, I know we won't just say, if we did, and we can only keep one gun, which gun would it be? Well, I thought that was going to be a different question. I thought he was going to say, what would we do if they came to get our guns?
Oh, but that's a good question, though.
Yeah, I like
what gun would you keep?
Well, I've already know which guns I'd keep because I specifically have one storage thing that I never show. It's nothing that anyone would ever find if I didn't tell them where it was at, and it's big enough to hold 2 rifles and 4 pistols. Actually, I think it's 6 pistols in it. And so I know exactly what's in there, and I know exactly what I would keep, but I'm not going to say so on air.
See, I've got guns that nobody's seen, but they're not necessarily the guns I would want to keep. Some of my favorite guns are ones that everybody's seen.
Well, I'm not saying people haven't seen some of the guns that are in there, but just the ones that are in there now are out of sight, out of mind, and won't be mentioned again, or have mentioned where they're at.
Oh yeah, I got you.
But I actually like the question better. What would we do if they came for our guns? If they came for my guns, I've got a family to think about, so they're going to take whatever guns they can find in my house, which is why I've made it to where there's some guns they will not find, because I have no intention of being a martyr.
Well, yeah, if I'm the only one on the block, I'm the first person that they knock on the door and they're coming for my guns, what am I going to do? Well, they're probably going to get some guns, because guns are going to be easier to acquire than my life is. So in that instance, they're going to get a truckload of guns, but let's just say that's not going to happen like that ever again.
Yeah, I'm hoping nothing like that would ever happen. But like I say, the whole idea of fighting, to the death doesn't make sense to me. The people that founded this country, they didn't do so by, running up to the British military and go, we're going to kick your asses out of here. We're going to fight back. No, they went, oh, good old England. And then when they went behind the scenes, they fought, until they had an organization big enough to actually mount a full frontal assault, or at least a defense.
Well, they were smart about it. They realized they were fighting a superior force. You don't just open up your door and start firing on somebody that shows up to try and tax you or take your guns. You're going to die.
Yeah, and they knew, and many of the founders and many of the people at that time were actually detained and questioned by the British, military, and they were like, "Oh, nope, I got nothing to do with the rebellion." They weren't stupid.
Yeah, guerrilla warfare tactics for days. That was the, where'd it come from?
So yeah, I have no intention of being a martyr. So if you're looking for the answer of, I'm going to shoot it out like it's my last days on Earth, you're not going to happen. I don't want a Ruby Ridge situation.
Or Waco.
Not to open wounds. Here's a question I want to answer. It says, I don't have money for a decent safe. Where would be the best place to hide guns from criminals breaking into my house?
I think if you have money for a gun, you have money for a safe. I don't know that that's true. I just don't know that argument is truly a good one.
Well, a lockbox is actually, the cheapest probably thing you could do. But if you're going to do a lockbox, the best thing is out of sight, out of mind. I know people that have a lockbox that they've screwed to the floor in their closet and they cover it with dirty clothes.
Right. Those what are they? Rack-on or lock-on cabinets that you can get? Stack-ons that go in the. You can put that in the closet, and those are maybe a couple $100 at that. That's a way better option.
It's gonna depend on how many guns you're trying to do. I mean, there's a lot of there are little bolt-down safes you can buy for $60 that'll hold probably 4 or 5 handguns. So it depends on what you're trying to do. I mean, if he's just dead set on not buying a safe, obviously there are things you can do, and whether or not you rent or own, there's obviously going to make a difference. You can,
There's everything
you
from
can,
hollowing out a book
yeah.
to whatever. I mean, I'll say one thing specifically I did back when I only had a couple of guns and I had, no extra money for a safe when I was dirt poor. I actually had an old dresser that had a false back on it that was probably about 4 inches shallower than the actual drawers went in. The runners didn't go all the way to the back. So I had like 3 or 4 inches at the back of the dresser. So I cut the back out of the dresser, put another plywood back in because I had plywood laying around, about 3 inches in, put little pegs on it, stuck my guns on the pegs in that 3-inch recess, and then just turned my nightstand or dresser. It was like a little half-tall dresser that I used as a nightstand. Just turned it back against the wall. Even if you'd have moved it, the guns would stay on the back of it. And who turns around your furniture and looks at the back of your furniture when they come into your house?
And it's not all that common for furniture to be larger than the drawers, so for there to be that dead area behind drawers.
Yeah. So it was, and my house actually did get robbed when I had my guns on that cabinet, and then they didn't get them. They took everything, other cheap piece of furniture in the house, including my couch, but they left my guns, and they left a cell from a Huckleberry Hound cartoon that my great aunt gave to me many years ago. That was probably worth more than everything in my house times 100, but they had no clue what it was, so they left it hanging on the wall. They took my $35 television set and left that set.
We don't like them cartoons.
Yeah.
So there's books and stuff you can get. I'm sure there's websites and YouTube videos by now, but something as simple as air intake vent or air return. Like Matt said, if you don't rent, or maybe even if you rent and you can do it without making it look really bad, places underneath the stairs or around a door or something, sometimes they'll have some trimmed out areas that, just the design of the house, put some dead spots places, and you can just kind of add a subtle vent or something. People will pay it no never mind, and that could be an inexpensive way to keep things out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, what you just said about steps, that's an awesome idea, because I once took a step in our old house, and I had to replace some of the runners on the steps. So when I was replacing one of the runners, I made one of them with a hidden hinge and built a little box in the stairs, and that's where you could hide anything in there. No one would ever think to look for it.
It's not. I haven't seen it in a while now, but for a while there was quite a few different things where people would recreate their stairways so that they could lift them up, and you can put quite a few long arms into there. They're kind of in a 45 degree or whatever that angle of your step is, kind of a slanted storage, but you can get lots of long guns in there, and you probably put a bunch of ammo and stuff, and then it's kind of right there in plain sight, but not really.
Yeah, I mean, be creative. I mean, just start looking around your house and think about, where is a place in this house that I would never look if I was looking for something valuable, or if I was someone here and had to steal something and had to be in and out quickly. I mean, just there's simple dead space, like even in most people's furnaces, there's a lot of metal cabinet that doesn't really have anything in it that you could easily stick a gun in. There's just all kinds of places in your house you could think of to hide something.
Like somebody who doesn't have any plastic guns.
I've often wanted to try and just see for the hell of it if it would ever work, but the idea of having one of those old, a lot of people have old beat up spare refrigerators in their garage where they keep extra stuff.
I have one. I got one right here next to me.
Who would ever look in that if they actually broke into your house?
Well, if someone opened mine, they would. If someone did open mine, they would immediately close it because it stinks. Because there's something in a bowl in there that I think used to be chili, but I'm not sure.
Put it in a old empty container of ice cream.
But I think one of the, at least where I grew up, one of the biggest crimes was...
Be quiet. We gotta be quiet now.
The garages.
No, Ben, go. It's all right.
These guys would always have like a beer refrigerator.
Yep.
Out in the garage. So I think that would be my biggest concern, if you put it somewhere where somebody might, like in a garage, but in like a laundry room or something. But here's the thing: you've seen those freezers and stuff that have locks on them. I think that's just to keep the kids out of the ice cream mostly. But if someone saw one of those freezers with a lock on it, or a refrigerator with a lock on it, they're probably not going to think, "Oh, that's a bunch of guns." They're going to think that's a bunch of steak or something.
And a freezer's another good idea. You can go to junkyards or just cop on Craigslist and find somebody that's selling a freezer, just wants to get rid of a freezer, have one hauled off really cheap. And I mean, that's a great idea. Park that thing anywhere, in a closet, wherever, and nobody's gonna.
And we know that those will survive nuclear blasts.
There you go.
Yeah, more than
well,
one.
At least the old ones from the 1950s will.
Right, with Indiana Jones in it.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
think he's still there.
Someone just said they sent us a long-ass message via YouTube message, and I don't understand what he means. Did he leave a comment on the video, or what did he do?
YouTube, did you check your PMs?
From one of the gun channels people that was, what do you feel is more important, or what causes the greatest effect? The failures or successes of gun rights activists in other countries on the United States, or the other way around, the failures and successes of gun rights here in the United States on other nations?
Okay, I didn't catch that. I didn't understand what that question was.
So in other words,
you're talking about people
greater influence when other countries have gun laws. Does that have a greater influence on us, or when we have gun laws, does that have greater influence on other countries? Which way?
It's situational.
Yeah, I don't think there's any one way you can say that. I don't think countries exist in their own little world 90% of the time, and they do what they're going to do. They have their own values. They have their own history. And our values and our history are different than other countries. So I don't think when we have permissive gun laws, it affects any other country. Now, yeah, I do think that when other countries have strict gun laws and they also have the benefit of already being a place where there's very little crime, then opportunistic politicians on our side try to connect those two. And like the reason they have very low crime is because they have strict gun laws, not because they're a nation of 100,000 people who are all white, blonde-haired, blue-eyed people. So I think some opportunistic politicians will feed off gun laws in other countries when it suits their agenda, but that's about it. They don't pay attention to countries that have loose gun laws, they have tight gun laws, but really high crime rates. They'll just ignore those together.
Or the Japanese, right, where they have no freedoms at all, almost.
Yeah, and they kill themselves at an amazingly high rate through suicide, which is most of our gun deaths.
So let me just understand what you're saying. So what you're basically saying is white people are nonviolent. Is that not?
No, I'm saying that homogenous populations tend to be nonviolent.
Okay.
If you go to Utah and everyone is a white middle class Mormon, of course the crime rates are lower. If you go to a country that's basically a homogenous small nation with very little population density, it's going to have lower crime.
Right. Asians are also less violent.
Your hand picked on that one. But if you take the city in the country that last time I looked, they had the least crime, it's Waco, Texas, and I suspect there's quite a mix in Waco. It's not all anything.
I thought it was Plano. Wasn't Plano?
It might be Plano. It was something with an O in Texas. But
there's always an aberration, but that doesn't make the rule.
I know both those places, and I would have to guess. Plano would be my best guess.
I'm also pretty sure that in Kennesaw, Georgia, there's very low crime rate.
I've been to Waco, and I was like, if you wanted to get killed in Waco, you would pretty much have to find someone and intentionally try to provoke them, because there was like almost nobody there and nothing going on.
You'd have to start by finding someone.
Right.
And then once you've done that, you'd have to piss them off purposefully. There's not a lot going. For the middle of Texas, it's decent, but anyway.
Kennesaw is the city where they're required to own guns, in case.
Oh yes, I remember that now.
That was its own punchline. Sorry, I flew that one by you.
I want to answer this question specifically, where Grant Helms asked me, "Why are you wearing a Taurus shirt?" And let me turn my camera on. I am wearing a Taurus shirt here today, and I had it on in my videos because some asshole who will remain unnamed on gun channels thought it'd be funny to send me a box full of Taurus shirts. And one of them was actually a large and not a triple XL, so I'm actually wearing the large one today because I haven't showered, so might as well put a Taurus shirt on if I'm going to make it stink.
Well, at least you got shop rags now, right?
Yeah. Hey, the one that I wanted to wear, which was the orange one, is like a 3XL. I can't wear a 3XL.
Make it into one of those tank tops, those Muscle Beach tank tops.
Here's a question, too, and I can't find the person who asked it, but I'm sure they'll know once I read the question. What about middle of back carry? And I'm assuming they mean small of back carry.
Yeah.
Okay, we've covered this a lot of the times. I say absolutely no. There's a reason why all departments ban that type of carry, because it is one of the most physically dangerous types of carry you can. Not from shooting yourself. I would say this appendix carry is probably the most dangerous for shooting yourself. But Small back carry, I know so many officers that are on disability now because they carried their backup gun in small back and fell on the ice or fell crossing a bridge, etc. So yeah, it's not something I would recommend.
What if they meant middle of back like John McCain carry style with the ho-ho-ho tape?
Yeah, that's fine with me, I guess, if you want to do it. I have too much back hair for that. The tape probably wouldn't stick, and if it did, coming off would not be a fun thing. Anyone else see any questions they want to see answered here?
Somebody asked about the semi-auto rifle ban in Massachusetts. I don't know enough about it personally, but maybe you guys know more about it.
I really don't. I've kind of fallen down on keeping up on that. But basically, I think what it was is their attorney general said, hey, we set these rules for what guns would be banned, but all these people found ways to get around our rules, so we're just going to ban every gun we think is a gun that they're trying to get around our rules with.
Well, first of all, here she basically came out and said she's going to reinterpret existing law as far as its intention as opposed to what it actually says, which, of course, laws don't have intentions. They just have words, and so she's decided to basically break the law to reinterpret existing law. And what's funny is basically it is a situation where the law came in and said these things on a rifle make the rifle inherently evil, whether it is a bayonet lug or a pistol grip and it's semi-auto and it has a collapsible stock, or it just has two of those things, or it has a barrel shroud, or whatever it is, whatever their previously existing laws were for their quote-unquote assault weapons ban. And so what gun companies did is say, okay, then we're going to remove all these evil features off the rifle, right? Because how long have the anti-gunners been preaching since the 1980s that a muzzle device or a bayonet lug or a collapsible stock inherently makes something more dangerous, and up to and including the point that they put the word evil in legislation. Like evil belongs in is there any other legislation out there that's ever had the word evil in it? I don't think so. But they put that in there, and then they say these are the features that make a rifle evil. So the gun companies remove those features so that the rifle is no longer evil and completely fits the anti-gunner's own definition of a legal, normal, anti-evil gun. And then they come back and she freely and openly admits, because in her statement when she was talking to the reporters, she comes right out and says, well, we know that they're getting away with removing muzzle devices and changing out stocks and pistol grips, but in the end the rifle's still the same as it was with those features on there. So basically she is an anti-gunner because she's hardcore way back, if you look into her history, way back anti-gunner. She's come out and basically admitted, oh yeah, everything we've been telling you guys for 30 years about quote-unquote evil features, it was all bullshit. We just wanted to ban this rifle. That's all we wanted. And now that we know we can't do it because the manufacturers are going to get rid of those features that we tried to focus on, now we're just going to come right out and admit it. Yeah, we just want to ban the rifle. We wanted that all along. We thought if we told you couldn't have a muzzle device that it would get rid of the rifles. We were wrong, so we're just going to reinterpret law and just say you can't have it. And basically they didn't even just say that, but it's like if this rifle, their criteria was if this rifle can take some of the same parts as a quote-unquote assault rifle, then we're going to say it's an assault rifle. So if you've got two guns that can both take a collapsible stock and an AR pistol grip, and they're both semi-automatic, well, then it's an assault rifle. It could be a freaking high point, or it could be, that only has a 10-round magazine and all this other crap. I mean, it could be some, who knows. But if it's semi-auto and you can find a way to put a pistol grip and a collapsible stock on it like you can on an AR, well, it's banned. So,
it's the origin of the shoulder thing that goes up, right? That's where that whole argument came from. They tried to make it sound like it was these features that were causing the gun to be more evil, right? More evil.
Oh, absolutely.
But we all grew up watching the A-Team, or some of you watched the A-Team. I was growing up watching the A-Team, and they all shot Mini 14s, right? So when you express the idea that a lot of these are just standard sporter stocks, and you can swap the action out and it doesn't change anything, well then they go, oh, epiphany moment happens, and they go, yeah, no, you're right. We need to ban all semi-automatic rifles.
Yeah.
So they're right.
Well,
At least they're making the honest argument of going after the exact thing they don't like.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're still
but
not
they're being
honest about their
14,
intentions.
wait, I gotta add one thing. The Mini 14, though, however, is not dangerous because if watching that show taught you anything, is
they hit nothing.
thousands of rounds and you'll never hit anybody.
Right. You're
It's
less
like watching
accurate than a
stormtroopers at that point.
Yes, exactly.
But I don't know. It's a ridiculous law. But I mean, they're still not being honest about their intentions. You know what I mean?
Well, they are now because you called them. You called them out, right? You said, okay, we got rid of all the features. They are feature-less. Now
they're being honest about what they want to do.
You can't do that, though.
They're still not being honest about their intentions.
Yeah,
their intentions are they want to get rid of guns, but they're saying it's because of crime. But you can't do that. There was like 7 people in 5 years got shot with one of these fucking guns.
And there was none this year. There was 0 this year that got killed. The year they decided to make the change, 0 people been killed with a rifle. But you can't do this. You can't write a law that says A, B, and C, but you're allowed A, B, and C are illegal, but D is not. And then say someone, well, if you're doing D, you're still going to be held accountable for a crime because we know you still want to do A, B, and C, or you could do A, B, and C with D. That's like saying, well, you're not allowed to have pipe bombs in your possession, but now we're going to start arresting you if you've got, twine and metal pipe, because that could be made into a pipe bomb. It doesn't make sense. It's not how laws work, and it's
them trying to live in a Tom Cruise movie where people can predict what you're going to do with your, it's ridiculous. But in the end, it's all to suit. It's all to fit an agenda of disarm the population. Half these idiots don't even realize that the whole anti-gun, progressive-leaning crap, whatever you want to call it, that stuff is rooted in people coming along and saying we have to disarm the population because we can't trust an armed population because we can't control them. And nowadays it's been watered down so much. Half these anti-gunners, they really are crazy. They really do think we got to get rid of these guns to get rid of crime, and they just keep spouting the same thing they've been spouting off for 115 years. They just want, it's ingrained into them to want people to not have guns.
And they're crazy because they always bring up the same statistic. They bring up gun deaths. They never want to talk about homicides per capita or violent crime per capita. They only want to talk about countries that have banned guns and look how gun crime has gone down. They're purely victimizing an object. They're not actually focusing on the crime, the actual violent tendencies of human beings.
A perfect example of that is last night. I was watching the Democratic National Convention, and some of the things I saw, like them bitching about Newtown. Well, first thing he gets up there and he talks about Newtown, how he's going to pass these laws so that something like, this is the governor, I believe, and he was like, we're going to pass these laws with Hillary Clinton so that this kind of thing never happens again. But the law he's talking about wouldn't have stopped Newtown, and no one calls him on that disconnect that the law you're talking about wouldn't have stopped Newtown, so why would it ever stop it from happening again? But more to your point, I was listening to all these people keep coming up there and going, I was raised in Detroit, and there's so much gun crime that you can't even live, and blah, blah, blah. There is not a gun crime problem in Detroit or any other city. There is a violence problem, period. There is a gang violence problem. But if you say there is a gang violence problem in opposed to saying there's a gun violence problem, then you have to say, well, why are all these inner city kids joining gangs? And why are all these black and Hispanic kids joining gangs? Why don't they have the things in their life that would make it to where they don't have to do this just to feel like they belong to a family or have a means to survive? If you say the actual thing, when you say, oh, we have a violence problem, an actual violence problem, a personal violence problem, people committing crimes, if you say it that way, then you have to address the real issue. You have to address
as soon as you do that, they go, racist. Yeah. That's all they say. You're right.
Yeah, first thing you would have to say is, well, why are all these black and Hispanic kids committing crimes? And then you can go further and say, well, it's got nothing to do with the pigment of their skin. It's got to do with the circumstances of their lives. It's got to do with the fact that they're being raised in a ghetto with no hope and no education and no chance of anything. And then you have to say, okay, well, maybe it's not their color that's causing the problem, it's their circumstances, and it just so happens so many black and Hispanic kids happen to be in this circumstance. What do we do to change the circumstance? That would be real problem solving. That actually might lead to a better society. That might actually make it to where politicians can't control people through fear, so they don't want to do that. They just want to demonize guns, which does two things. It keeps us scared, it keeps them in power, and it makes it to where we can never remove them from power.
And you know, you can't legislate being a good family man, right? You can't legislate that, and so that's the problem.
It drops that local responsibility on the national platform, and an anonymous, it gets to put it at some fictitious third party, the gun lobby.
Right, so you get to villainize an inanimate object instead of facing the real hard truths that family structures in certain social areas in the country are decrepit. And they're dying, and they've been dying, and nobody's done anything about it. And we just kind of tried to tack on these solutions, legislation and different whatever policy programs that haven't actually yielded any kind of change or positive change.
And we can say it's no mystery why these family units are deteriorating. There is a culture now where making as many babies with as many different women as possible is a sign of manhood in a society where you have really little else to show how successful you are as a man. There is a drug problem amongst inner city people, parents included. They're not excluded from, drug issues that are rampant in their cities. So you got a lot of kids being raised by 20-year-olds that have drug problems, and there's a lot of single mothers working 2-3 jobs, or single fathers even in some cases, to support their kids. They don't get to parent their kids. They spend all their time just trying to feed their kids. So, I mean, the problems are not mysteries. We know what they are. We just don't want to do anything about them.
Right, because the solution isn't something from government. The solution is a collective social. We want to move past this way of building families.
Well, I won't say it isn't government, but it isn't like a federal government agency's job. It is the responsibility of government in the way that the government is the people coming together and saying, we want to change the way things are done in our society, and this is what we're going to do as a collective group of people to help facilitate these changes. So that is a form of government, but it's not like it's the FDA's fault.
Right, like I can't say if I ban X, it will solve this. If I increase minimum wage to Y, it will solve this. It's a more softer problem of families, not men, particularly in some cases, not focusing on one family, a couple of kids, being there for those couple of kids, and raising them up and teaching them the things that they should or shouldn't know, right? It's this, like you just said, right? They've got a ranking system that is different from the social standard that we have right now, and that ranking system is yielding children that are being not fathered, not parented, and they're causing a greater strain on society.
There is a whole society of disadvantaged people, I should say, that put more emphasis on whether their hat matches their shoes than whether they paid their child support this month.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah, and the materialism.
That just bothers me to no end. You see, this hat's free. It does not match my shoes. I just don't understand that mindset. I do it in a way because when you're very poor, and I grew up very poor, you become materialistic in a way that anything you have is yours and you're going to keep it. But so sometimes when you don't have much, you put way too much emphasis on something you can have, like a hat. So I understand the psychology of why it's happening, but I just don't understand the degree to which it's happening to where you ignore other things like your family, your children, your responsibilities to yourself and your community, etc.
Well, I know what you got to do. You got to take all those tourist shirts and send them to Detroit.
Mm-hmm.
There you go.
No one in Detroit would wear this shirt because it doesn't have a name brand logo on it, and So
Taurus is a name brand. It's right next to High Point in well-known brands in Detroit.
No, I don't think Taurus is a name brand. I think it is a stigma.
In Detroit, maybe. Maybe.
I'm getting buzzed by a gnat. God damn it. But I think we should probably move on before we start getting too racist.
Pick random questions, so I think it might be easier if someone were to put the question in the form of a comment on a $5 contribution on PayPal.
Oh, man.
Someone wants to know what our take on new California gun laws are. My take on California gun laws is that it's almost starting to think that state is hopeless. And I know some people are asking too now about the Western Wall that they're trying to build. They're trying to get California and Oregon to go along with Washington as far as the bans on like rifles, semi-automatic rifles, etc. So they'll have this Western Wall to be able to like starve the rest of the nation of rifles. I guess I don't know what their point is, but it's sad.
Yeah, all they're doing is driving us right back to what we just talked about. Everybody is taking their AR-15s and they're going featureless. They're making them equivalent to a Mini 14, which is completely legal. You don't have to have a bullet button. You don't have to have any of those restrictions. They're just forcing people to go that way. They're making the government just say, look, we don't like the gun. You got to get rid of the gun. At the same time, the CRPA, which is the California Rifle and Pistol Association, which is the California arm of the NRA, it's a separate entity, but it is funded in part by the NRA. They have introduced a couple of petitions, and they have a lot of lawyers that are actively going after fighting these laws in particular, because they all are violations to the Second Amendment. They're great infringements on our Second Amendment rights.
Well, if they want to line up all the states on the west coast of the country and create a berm for us, then I say we fire all of our pro-gun, pro-firearms rights efforts in that direction and use them as targets of our.
I'm on the west coast, so I'm not going to go with.
Well, there's an interesting, and it kind of draws in what the question earlier, the complicated question of what do you think's worse, countries that have ban laws in effect to their impact here in the United States and whatnot. If states go more like California and go more like Massachusetts, then other states will be able to point to California and Massachusetts, factual or not, as being a success to push their anti-gun bullshit. So the reason why we have so many CCW states that we do now is because some states stood up and said, no, we're going to support freedom, we're going to support gun carrying rights, and other states backed their move. They just followed along. If California goes any stricter anti-gun, more states will have an opportunity and an easy argument to say, hey, look, it's working in California, whether that's not factual or not, because we know they don't care about facts. They don't care about real statistics. So if you let it...
They win both ways, because we know crime is going down. We are a peaceful country. We always have been. They have to look at the few crimes to get people scared anyway, but those few crimes are dwindling. So what will happen if they get any of these gun laws? They know the crimes are going to keep going down for the most part. I mean, it's possible that we're going to see crime increase a bit, but then they're going to be able to take credit for that.
Right, and so just remember, they don't have to justify laws being good or laws being bad or laws working or not working. They just have to justify the law. And if one state gives another state ammo to use against the people of that state by saying, oh, look at California, look how big California is, third largest in the nation, and look how good their gun laws are doing. We should do gun laws like that. And then you get this spread like you see in the animated GIFs that's on the internet about CCWs, right? When CCWs started taking off and spreading over the last decade or so, it's the same thing, but it's in reverse. It's the restriction. It's the contraction.
Yep, they're going to be able to say 7 million gun owners in California thought this was cool. They didn't upset them enough that they got out and changed it. So how do you prevent them from taking that valid perception of what's going on? Is you get 7 million gun owners in California pissed to the point where they're out every weekend at Second Amendment rallies complaining about being infringed upon. If you all just sit there and we all just sit here watching them sit there, then they get to say 7 million gun owners are down with this.
Or you take your ball and you go home and you leave the state, right? So you leave the state. You used to be a California gun owner, and you go, damn, it feels good to be in a free state. And you're right. You're totally right, and I can't really fault you for having the ability to do that. But what have you done? You just said, like, okay, well, that's your way, not my way. I'm leaving. Well, the reality is that is a violation of our acknowledged rights as human beings, and they're forcing it down your throat, and we should equally want to fight against that.
Well, we've had that discussion many times.
Yeah. I don't want to get bogged down in the California discussion right now.
Yeah.
In fact, I want to move on to this other question because I think it's kind of interesting. And this is from Jim Chavez. I would like to hear your opinions on the future of gun technology. Technology is currently stagnant. What could be the new breakthrough? Well, I don't know about the rest of you. I'll say that the only reason I don't think guns have evolved much is because I think it's pretty much the perfect technology. I mean, it's like the perfect invention. It produces a small little piece of metal and propels it at you very quickly from a very small package with an energy that's easily handled by the person wielding the gun. So I don't really see where too much can be done with it. I mean, there's electronic guns, but all that does is change how the gun fires. It doesn't really change how the gun works. I mean, I guess there's magnetic rail guns, etc. But based on how much energy those would need to work, I don't think I'd want to have to carry one with the battery pack it would probably need. And even if I got it to where there was enough energy in the gun, I don't think I'd want to hold anything like that in my hand. And I'd probably, knowing the laws based concerning the conservation of energy, I don't think I'd want to fire anything just holding it in my hand that produced that kind of energy. So I just don't see there's much place for guns to change unless we start developing like stun weapons or sonic weapons, But other than that, I just don't see a big change as far as delivering a deadly projectile to a person from something you hold in your hand.
Yeah, I mean, in my extensive expertise in watching many sci-fi TV shows and movies, including Battlestar Galactica, until we get to the point where we are perfecting, like phaser technology, guns are exactly like you said. It is where it needs to be. It's not going to get much better than this. So it's going to stay this way for a while until some other new technology comes in, sweeps over everything, and people go, oh, well, this is just amazing. Again, like a Star Trek phaser or something. It's going to take that type of technology to bury guns as they are now.
Right, because anything you do to a gun in its current form, right, you have to think of this evolution of a gun, right? We've reached the point where it's refined to the point that it does a very specific task very well. And if you change that or modify that, you're only increasing complexity, and the complexity usually is shown in either parts breaking or there being failures to feed or fire, right? That's all you've done.
Yep.
So you're not adding to the end result, you're only taking away from the end result in the hopes of adding an attribute to that end result. Hopefully I didn't go too engineering there, but that's generally the problem. You have to think, we've been refining firearms for decades or centuries now, and we've come to the point where we have soft metals that hold soft projectiles that are fired out of hard metal, and they use a chemical reaction to propel them. Anything that changes that is only going to add complexity and the likelihood of failure, which is why we don't do that. We don't want failure. These are things that have to go boom every time we pull the trigger. So any time that you add to that, all you're doing is creating more failure.
I figure the next step will be some sort of a crystal using frequency harmonics, and there'll be some sort of a tube involved.
Yeah, it's the crystal deodorant that the hippies use. It's that crystal. That's what they use.
And we're going to be using a lot of that when Planet X or Nibiru comes around. So.
Oh man, Planet X.
We're going to need a lot of them crystals.
Before we move on to a serious question that doesn't involve hipsters, which I hate beyond anything in the world that I hate. That I do hate.
Don't say that in front of Hosh. He might get upset.
I'm all right.
He's probably wearing skinny jeans right now with the low-hanging ass in them.
I have short shorts on.
And the ironic sunglasses.
Yeah, but I bet he wears those low-crotch skinny jeans.
No, I don't wear those. I wear short shorts though. I do that.
A lot of people have asked what we're carrying, so let's get that typical question out of the way because everyone always asks that. So what's everyone carrying as their carry gun right now?
I'll go first. Summertime in swamp-ass South Texas, it's the Ruger LCR. So pretty much every single day.
Which one?
Just a standard LCR 38 special. I loaded up with plus Ps, so just nothing. I carry a speed loader, a little forget what company makes speed loaders specifically for the LCR because they have problems with the little HK speed loaders. They can be a little iffy. So there's a company, and off the top of my head, I can't remember who it is. They make
Are you still using a speed loader? Don't you ever heard of a speed strip?
I like speed loaders. I prefer them. That's just me.
Man.
I like them. I carry one in my pocket. Extra 5 rounds. I got 5 rounds in the gun, another 5 rounds. 38 special plus P, and good to go.
I carry either the Ruger LCP with 2 extra mags because they're so small, the mags, and in a DeSantis holster with Laser Max grip on it, or the laser on it, or a Smith & Wesson 642 with a Safariland Comp 2 speed loader.
Now, real quickly, how did you get permission to carry in California? I'm just curious.
No comment.
Probably involves prostitution.
Yeah.
I plead the fifth.
Well, I'll go next. I have been carrying the last few days my Beretta 92 because I just want to show myself I can still carry a big gun, and have been doing so quite successfully, even though it's been hot here. But that's what I've been carrying the last. Oh crap! That was probably noisy when I just smacked my microphone. But that's what I've been carrying recently. What about G-Webs? We know it's a Glock. I bet it's a Glock, or maybe his LCR.
No, he goes back and forth between the LCR and the Glock.
LCR 357 always, and then the Glock 41.
Okay, I knew it was one of those two. But now they got that out of the way, I had a question here that I wanted to move on to, but now I've kind of forgotten what it was. So if either of you all have got anything to say it, because I'm going to have to search here again.
Oh.
Dun, dun, dun.
Well, here, real quick, I'll just show this. This is the little Ruger LCR, little aluminum, polished aluminum. I think they call it the J2 5-star little Ruger LCR, specifically made for the Ruger.
Yeah, those little billet speed loaders are pretty cool.
Yeah, and it works really well. It's nice. It's aluminum, so it's really lightweight. Works really well.
Twist type, push button type.
Since we're talking about carry, the Safariland 2 is a push button type. Since we're talking about carry, what carry method would you choose if the firearm needed to be undetectable, or I guess not to print?
Yeah, I got one of those too, just showing here.
Oh, that's like zombie colors. That's cool.
Yeah, mine's a zombie.
Oh, I like that. I like that with the red and the green.
But where would we carry if it couldn't be detectable? I don't know. That's one of the only times I ever promote appendix carry, because it is one of the ways to carry in a way that no one will probably ever find your gun. I agree with Masad Ayub, and that's about the only instances where he's ever seen that it makes sense, like if you're an undercover police officer, etc. But if I had to carry one on me to where I knew it wasn't going to be, I'm one of those hide in plain sight people, so I would probably get something like a one of those Sneaky Pete's or something and carry it in that to where people just see the case and have to wonder what's in it, because I'm not a big fan of appendix carry.
I'll just pocket carry an LCP.
Yeah, I pocket carry this thing all the time. I mean, I've got this little clip, goes right on over that. This attaches to your belt, so as you pull the gun out to present it, it pulls itself off. I pocket carry this. I pocket carry my Glock 26 with the +2 extension on it. Now, obviously, if I'm wearing like cargo shorts or something, a little bit baggier. But yeah, pocket carry easily is a great way to get away with, being undetectable.
I like having mine in a holster. Mine gets enough dust and crap all in the cylinders and stuff. Yours is going to get even more, I would think.
I don't pocket carry all the time. Most of the time, this is in a holster. But if for whatever reason I need to carry a little more low profile and I can't wear a holster or whatever, then I have the ability to pocket carry this very easily. So
I use the DeSantis carrier, and that works pretty well for pocket carry. Sticks in the pocket pretty well and comes out nice.
Myself. Helps find and mute myself. Some people are wanting to know what our opinions of the XD firearms are. Matt, I'll let you handle that one.
Oh, Lord. Do you really want to get into that right now? Good God.
Matt does not like the XDM, so just so you know.
I don't like Springfield. The gun is a decent gun. I don't have any problems with it. It's an overpriced polymer gun.
He doesn't like them.
It's overpriced. That's why I don't like them. But I don't like Springfield as a company.
He's an XDM hater.
Wow. Yeah. There you go.
I think I've only fired a magazine through an XDM. The XDS, though, I've shot that multiple times. That's pretty.
I got a buddy who's got one, and it's a great little gun. It's not worth the $650 he paid for it, but
I kind of, in my video today that you chose not to watch, I compared the XD series to the Pontiac Firebird Trans Am.
Oh, that's funny.
I was like, the people that like the XD guns often like it. This is just one of the comparisons I made. People that like the XD series often like it because of that Springfield Armory logo etched on the top of it. As like that logo means about as much on that gun as the actual Trans Am logo meant on the Pontiac Firebird, because the Pontiac Firebird never competed in that division ever, never even qualified to compete in that division, so didn't deserve to wear that name and the XD Empire. And even though it might be a good car, it didn't need to have the Trans Am name on it.
Exactly.
And even though the XD might be a good gun, it should not have a Springfield Armory logo.
And that's the whole thing that got them off the ground. When that thing was the HS 2000, hardly anybody was buying it, but the people that did, I mean, they were picking them up for $250, $300, so it wasn't that bad of a deal. They stamp Springfield Armory on the damn thing, and they start selling it for $450, $500. Now they're selling for $550, $600 because it's got that damn stamp on it. It's not even the same company anymore. Somebody bought the rights to that name. It's not even Springfield Armory.
I don't think Burt Reynolds ever owned a XDM.
No. I don't think he ever really owned a Trans Am in real life either, but he definitely had some in the movies.
But I bet he rode what's-her-name pretty hard.
Sally Field?
Sure.
That's got to be the weirdest choice for a hot leading lady I've ever seen in my entire life.
Right? Well, she was the Flying Nun, right? Right before that?
I don't know what kind of weird...
Before that was like black and white TV days, so she was the Flying Nun, I think.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. But that's just some weird, you like milk toasty tiny women. Here's just some hot one. A hot one, I guess. I'm like, oh.
So since we're kind of talking about leading ladies and that's kind of like movies, which is kind of like TV, are we going to talk about Stranger Things today?
No, this is not a sci-fi show.
Save it for Monday.
Save it for the Monday.
Although we already talked about it on Monday, but yeah.
Although I will say that it is an awesome show, and if you liked sitting around watching like things like Tales from the Dark Side when you were a kid, this is a little short series of 8 episodes you should definitely watch because it was freaking amazing.
Basically, if you remember and liked the 80s, you will like that show.
I don't even think that's a prerequisite. I think you could like the show even if you don't remember the 80s. But if you do remember the 80s, you'll definitely like the show.
Stranger Things on Netflix, right?
Yes.
Oh, man. All right. Well, you gave me something to do on the weekend. Awesome. I'm definitely into that whole genre.
I watched all 8 one-hour episodes in one streak. I started at like 6 p.m. one evening and finished early the next morning.
Did you watch Black Mirror?
No.
I've seen the first season.
I suggest Black Mirror. It's really good.
Although I did watch a series based on something Never Enough Ammo said, and I will probably punch him in the vagina next time I see him because I watched the whole Shannara series because he said something about it.
All I said was it was a typical like teen whatever, but it wasn't.
It's pretty good though.
Yeah, it was pretty good for what it was.
It was some of the worst acting I've ever seen in my entire life.
What did you expect from MTV? Come on.
Oh, it was just awful.
Well, so if you're in that whole, I checked Desarty. That's really good too. You should check that out.
God.
Yeah. Oh, and one more sci-fi thing before we go any further, because a lot of people like guns like sci-fi. I like guns and cars that kind of go together. If anyone goes to see the new Star Trek movie, I liked it because I've been getting a lot of people asking me the last couple of days whether I like it or not. I liked it, but the whole last like 10 minutes of the movie, I kept going, did they forget they have transporters? Did they forget they have phasers? Because they're like, that guy's in that box over there, and we got to stop him somehow. Well, how about lock onto him with the transporter and just bring him out of there? Or how about just vaporize his ass from 1,000 yards away?
Let me ask you just one quick question about that. What did you think, as somebody who, just like me, grew up on Star Trek, what did you think of the, I'll just call it, without spoiling for anybody, the Beastie Boys scene?
I mean, I know what they were going for, and it was cute-ish, but it was so predictable that as soon as you saw it, you were like, oh, I know what they're going to do with that later. And it was kind of like a callback.
For me, it was completely predictable across the board and corny as hell, but I thought it was a fun moment. And I was smiling while it was happening. I was smiling, so.
Yeah, I thought it was cute, especially when he tried to hook things up, and he's like, I'll do it, pow, you do it. I thought it was kind of cute. And it was kind of a good moment for the Scotty character.
Yeah.
Although I wish they'd quit showing fucking photographs of the original universe ones just to pay homage to them, because every time they show the picture of the original ones, that's like, you people aren't reboots of those people because you don't look anything looking like them yet. So I wish they'd quit doing that. I mean, we don't need to be reminded that, hey, these aren't the people that were always in the movies.
Hey, that Chinese guy is not Korean this time, or the other way around, right?
Oh, and that was racist. The fact that his husband had to also be Asian.
That's the first thing I
Racist.
thought. The first thing I thought I was going to turn to my wife and tell her that I was like, oh, so now we know Sue's racist.
Yeah, I mean, well, the producers are racist because they're like, oh, the gay Asian guy's got to have an Asian husband. I was like, racist as fuck.
That's like the 24th century. You couldn't be like a white chick or a Klingon or something. I mean, come on.
A white guy. I mean, just a white guy because
Just anything other than just another Asian dude.
Yeah, just another Asian dude with their little adopted Asian baby, or maybe she was built from.
Well, technology. Hey, technology's come a long way in a few hundred years, so I'm sure it's their baby. Come on.
Racism is still alive and well on that outpost in that century. So yeah, okay. Now back to guns. I'll save this for the end. We've only got like 5 minutes here, so let's go ahead and get into this really big topic. People are worried about what will Hillary Clinton, and this is from many, many people in the chat. What will
speaking live right now at the DNC?
Yeah, what will the ramifications be of Hillary Clinton becoming president on gun rights?
Well, good God.
I mean, it's any number of things, right? I mean, it could be anything.
But here's the thing: she takes one of two paths. And it depends on what public consensus is at the time. Like right now, with Kim Kardashian and all the other airheads tweeting anti-gun stuff all the time, and Jimmy Kimmel and whoever else is doing late shows talking about anti-gun stuff all the time. If she wins, and at the point in time that she takes office in another 7 months or however long it is, okay, if that happens, God help us all. And that's still going on. There's still that public consensus and celebrities tweeting out anti-gun crap all the time. Then she's got a direct path to just go, okay, let's go straight after another assault weapons ban. That's not going to grandfather anything, and that's not going to expire. And if, like they're predicting, the Republicans I think right now they're, because it's all percentages and BS and polls and stuff, so we don't really know for sure, but they're predicting there's about an 85% chance that the Republicans are going to lose the Senate. They're going to hold the House, but they're going to lose the Senate. So if she's got the Senate on her side, she's got public sentiment on her side because of retarded, I said the R word, because of idiot celebrities, then I think she just goes straight after an assault weapons ban. Other than that, if she doesn't have those two things, if public sentiment dies down, nobody cares anymore because there's not another shooting, and maybe she does or doesn't win the Senate, then she's going to keep hammering the little stuff, the watch lists, the state level stuff. She's gonna be hardcore. She's not gonna push it federally because she knows that's not gonna work. But she'll keep throwing support behind states like Massachusetts and California who want to do anti-gun stuff, Hawaii that wants to do anti-gun stuff, and she'll keep working it little by little that way. So those are the two outcomes. Either she goes full-blown if public sentiment's on her side, or she just keeps eating away like what's exactly happening right now.
Well, I think what's going to happen is they're going to continue what they're doing now, and that's not. They can't beat us in a fist fight. I mean, they can't actually charge us. They can't charge the gates. They can't overcome the castle. So what they're going to do is starve us out. And that's what I see them doing now through the laws they're passing, these stupid laws. They're just trying to starve us out to where, sure, it's still legal for you to have that, but the hoops you either have to jump through to get it are intense, or there's no place for you to get it from because we've ran everybody out of business. So they're trying to starve us out right now, and that's what I think they're going to continue to do. And what she's going to do right now, what she's going to try to do, is make sure that she stacks the Supreme Court with people that will support those starvation means. Yep. Because right now, if those make it to the Supreme Court, they wouldn't hold water, they wouldn't pass. So she needs to make sure that before these measures that are all coming around now, like that, that assault weapons thing with the Attorney General, by the time they get to the Supreme Court, she needs to have a sympathetic court in place. So that, I think, is their main goal.
Yeah, you nailed it. You nailed it. Without that, they can't see anything.
If she has the Senate, like they're predicting, if she wins and what they predict, happens with the Senate, it's on. Whoever she appoints to take over for the empty seat. Plus, Ginsburg's already come out and said if she wins, she's going to retire. Yep. If Hillary wins, she's going to retire. That means right off the bat, Hillary gets 2 seats. If she's got the Senate, she gets 2 seats no matter what. And we're basically screwed.
Yeah, that's what I think is going to happen. So we need to start fighting now to get, not just hold our ground where we're at now, but start getting things in place like state referendums and state initiatives that state we will not abide by any anti-gun laws, and that the federal government does not have the right to impose any anti-gun laws, because they don't. The only way they even have a right, the only way they ever justify their right to intervene in gun issues is through interstate commerce. So we have to start standing up in our own states and saying, hey, the federal government has no right to impose gun laws inside my borders, and we will not abide by any laws the federal government tries to impose inside our borders. So we have to be preemptive.
Yeah, it's only as good as our elected officials are in their given states.
No good.
Right.
But it's our only chance, so I'm trying to be optimistic.
But somebody in my chat's bringing it up, saying that, you know, her popularity would drop even further by doing anything. And that's an important note, that there has never been two candidates so disliked by the people. She's going to walk in.
Never.
Do you think that's an accident? That the fact that the year that they want to get Hillary Clinton elected and they know she's like the least popular politician ever, that they somehow arrange for someone who's not even a politician, who is probably even less liked than Hillary Clinton, and he is slightly less liked than Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
Do you think that that's some sort of weird circumstance, that the year that they had to get her?
Well, yeah, I don't know. Put your tinfoil on. That's a little conspiracy theory.
No, it's not. Look at what the media's done. Wow. The media knew from the get-go. They knew 8 months ago that he was the most he fit the whole unlikable thing more than anybody else that was running on the Republican side. They just needed to work him up. That's why they spent so much time giving him free media attention, to ensure he would be the candidate.
And talking so badly about him because they know people distrust the media, so they knew they were going to go the opposite way. And let's remember, right now, we've already seen in the last couple of weeks that the DNC was not playing fair. They had already chosen who their candidate was going to be, and they were going to do whatever they could to get her to be the candidate. Do you think the RNC wasn't doing the same thing, no matter what they say in real life? And do you think that those two wouldn't conspire with each other? Because we've already seen the evidence that they're doing the bad things. So you either have to think, well, only one of them did the bad things, or both of them did the bad things. And if you know both of them did the bad things, you have to accept that they would conspire.
Yeah, it's a great year to elect a president, isn't it?
It's a great year to vote Gary Johnson. Happy? Vote Gary Johnson. Great year for Gary Johnson. If it's all shit, we might as well vote for something we believe in.
It's a douchebag and a turd sandwich. Anyway.
Well, we've gone an hour now, so hopefully we'll get some good topics for next week. But I'm going to let everyone here plug anything they want to plug really quickly.
On that depressing note, ending on a depressing note, thank you so much for having me on. I'm Hoshnasi, Hoshnasi. Daily vlogs, videos every day, at least one. Talk to you tomorrow.
There's a Second Amendment rally in San Diego this weekend, so this Saturday, a couple hours. People are asking what they can do for the California gun laws, or what we think of them. That was one of the common questions that came up in Yankee's video with asking for comments. So we can support the gun organizations there, Cal Guns and Firearms Policy Coalition. And if you're in the area, head over to San Diego this weekend. Hopefully they're going to be doing more of these each Saturday.
Yeah, and there is an event page for it, so if you look it up, you can find an event page on Facebook for the pro-gun rally in San Diego on the 1st, the 1st or 30th. What is it?
It's not the 1st yet. It'll be the 30th.
30th. Okay, so it's on the 30th, but I think it's at 1. Oh, that's why I was confused. It's at 1 p.m. on the 30th. So yeah, go check that out. I would just like to promote freedom and liberty, and you can check out my channel if you want. It's Never Enough Ammo. That's great and all. Or check out the podcast. That'd be awesome. But go check out gunshows.com.
I want to promote money. These channels ain't free. If you've got a gun channel you like, go over to Patreon, donate to their page, help keep gun channels on the air. You know, because we definitely ain't making our money from YouTube. So go try to keep your favorite channels on the air, no matter who they are. Go over to Patreon. Most of them got a Patreon account. And that being said, I also want to address, what was his name here? There's some guy in here, and he keeps asking me to address the fact about the initiatives in Washington, what it's like living in Washington, etc. I don't got time to do that during the live chats because it is it's like Fanuz something or something like that his name is. Firuz TNT. Can't really address that during the live chat because it's too local to my area, but I hopefully will have a video on that pretty soon. So, anybody else got anything else they want to add?
No, thanks for the show. Good to hear you back or have you back.
Yeah, it's good.
Okay, well then we will call it a day.